Good evening, story hunters. It's nice to see you all here again. Looking forward to our next video today. I hope you are. This meal came from an unexpected source. You see, some stories that we explored, some of the stories have been already prepared. Some of them has been created just immediately, and some of them are still being hunted. Though there are some stories out there has already been made through history and time. What I have in my hand is a letter. What you see on the screen is a presentation of the story that was presented to us, called This Challenger. It is a little Werewomen story, and it was created by, actually, it was translated by someone within this letter, which I'll read shortly. What you need to know is that some stories out there has already been written and just needs to be discovered again. And it'll take time for it to come into fruition, to come into light. So let's go ahead and read this letter that has been given to us by an anonymous transcriber. You open up again. Right. So here are a few things you need to know about the story and of this world. Alright. So, what we need to know is that this story is an ancient account that was recovered from the Othradsim expedition that took place in 1882. It was translated by J.H. Archibald at the Little Werewomen facility. They're still unsure of the actual age of this account, but they do believe it is around the Neolithic and Bronze era. They seem to have formed the Lupine the Dominion, which collapsed around the rise of the human civilizations. Though the Dominion has fallen, the Lupines, which we are called werewolves today, are known. They still exist today. Most are in hiding. And they do want us to let us know they have a full library of stories like these, historical accounts, and things that you could search on your own, in your own leisure, which is a very wonderful take. And this entire world history, whether it's true or not, seems to be very fleshed out and well constructed. So they encourages us to visit them again. So, without further ado, welcome to the Story Hunter Pack. If you like what we are feasting here tonight, join our pack, and you'll be a welcome addition to our group. And without further ado, let's get into the story.
The Challenger. They were already there, waiting for him when he arrived. 3 of them, patiently sheltered in the shade of the ark. Ghythrym held his battlestone aloft as he walked forward, trying to keep the heavy pole steady. As he got closer, one of them leapt down into the shallows with a splash, that startled him and sent him reaching for his Ghythrym. Unfortunately, he fumbled it, and the well-worn blade slipped from his grasp. He made a grab for it with his other paw, but dropped his battlestone in the process, sending it clattering down onto the rocks. Howls of laughter rang out, and a figure in the shallows waded towards him. a solid wall of muscle, teeth, and talons, topped by a pair of eyes that shone with a hungry, malignant light. It was Vosh, leering and shaking salt spray from his mane. His eagerness for the duel was obvious, and a thin stream of drool escaped from his jaws as he looked pityingly at the older wolf man. "I didn't think you would come, Ghythrym," he called out. "But Zarev bet me that you would, so now I owe him 10 Saiban, and he gets to pick a mastodon from my herd for the feast we will have after I kill you." "Greetings, Vosh," Ghythrym said mechanically, ignoring the affront. "By the terms of the rights of challenge, I have come alone to satisfy the honor of my pack, and to defend the strength of my bloodline. Before we join in battle, I give you one last chance to take back your insults and make amends. Do you yield?" Vosh's two cousins could hardly contain themselves in the recitation of the time-honored ritual, spoken evenly and without inflection or emotion. Snarling snickers echoed off rock and water while Vosh grinned wickedly. "Never! I meant what I said at council. You have harmed the minion. You have failed in your duty to our leader Apollyon, and you love the Ohusim vermin more than your own kind. You are secretly a rebel weakling who supports that traitor in the Outlands, this so-called peaceful prince. Your bloodline is ended. Your cubs are dead, and you are so relic that I ought to hurry up and join them. Now, pick up your weapon!" With that, Vosh loosened his own blade in its sheath, unleashed his talons, and bared his teeth with a fearsome growl. Ghythrym crouched low, trying to keep one eye on his opponent while reaching for his fallen Ghythrym. "Pick it up!" shouted Vosh impatiently. "I can't kill the weak, old, unarmed fool." "Well, of course I can. Nothing will be easier. But how would that look, For the council to accept your death, this must at least appear to be a real duel between equals. Not that anyone in their right minds would ever mistake us as equals. Come on, Ghythrym. I know how tired you must be, but you are so very, very old and weak. Just try, please. Alright, then I'll kill you, and you can rest forever. Join all your dead friends. But first, I need you to try to put up a fair fight. That's all I want. Just a fair fight. The breeze from the inland sea gusted through the great stone ark. Ghythrym remembered how many years ago he had stood here on a long night's vigil as the smoke carried his joined mate's body and speared up to the loving arms of Mother Luna. This had been one of her favorite places in all the Dominion, and she would stand framed in the ark looking out at the great inland sea, and at least for a moment her pain would subside. He had never been able to fully express to her the depth of his regret for the death of their cubs, nor could he ever forgive himself that his own words had led to their death. "Wolfmen," he told them as they got older, "true Anutsim must claim a worthy kill in order to be recognized. One day, you will do so, if you're really my cubs. It should be honorable," he said, "made with skill and by your own strength and cunning. Until you do," he joked, "you are no better than Werewomen, or worse, soft Ohusim grubs squirming in the dirt." Had he known what would follow, he never would have said such things in jest. Whether his jibes inspired them or not, the two of them had decided the time had come to find a kill worth claiming. They were too little, barely at the threshold of adolescence, but still, they went off silently in the middle of the night. They settled on a lair of dangerous pests of unknown origin that had taken up residence in a nearby forest glade, swarming little fiends who had driven off good prey and befouled the streams, making the sylvan hunting ground unusable. His cubs had charged in to face them, and in the process, they have been severely bitten and envenomed. Their bloated bodies later discovered at the edge of the forest, where they had dragged themselves before they died in agony. A true blood rage overwhelmed Gafford when he heard, and he had then gone out into the forest and slaughtered the things that had killed his precious offsprings. He had no clear memory of the fight itself, but he remembered hacking and tearing their twisted flesh into ribbons, trying to make up for the pain that they had caused them. But the solace he wanted so badly for could not be found anywhere in their noisome remains. He stumbled back to his den that night, emptier and more bereft of purpose than he had set out. As he went back, he wondered whether it really mattered if he returned, and if there was any point in declaring to his mates that he had exacted revenge. Would she care? Wouldn't she be happier if he simply disappeared, went off to be a hermit in the desert, never to trouble her again? But he continued on, for ideas such as duty and honor were too deeply carved into his psyche for him to consider any other course, and he secretly felt ashamed and angry that the thought had ever crossed his mind. She needed him still, as it turned out, and he needed her. They gave purpose and shape to one another's lives in the quiet and emptiness that followed. He never asked for her forgiveness, though not a moment went by when he did not desperately crave it. She passed on several years later, still hurt and lonely, but she had made some sort of peace with it by the end. After she died, he kept on going through the rituals of his life every day and every night, always hoping to awaken in the morning and find that the hollow feeling inside him would be gone. It never went away, not really, but a shell of spiritual scar tissue gradually enclosed the space, allowing him to continue on and to give the impression that he was still a strong, vital Tava'ri. The only times he forgot about the emptiness were the moments when he stood up in council to shout down some cruel, selfish idiots, or to appeal to the reason and respect for others that had become such a rare commodity in the Dominion. All of his grief and rage and sorrow passed through his mind in an instant. Looking at Vosh and the lust for conquest that burned in his eyes, he was surprised to find that the hollow space inside him had seemed to be gone now. It had been replaced, for the time being at least, by a defiant belief in the steady cadence of honor and responsibility, which had guided him back to his den after that dark and bloody massacre in the forest. There were things worth fighting for, and after all that had happened, he would not surrender his life to the disrespect and greed of a dangerous, entitled fool. Vosh's belittling request for a fair fight brought him back across the gulf of years, back to the present moment. He stirred and looked up, eyes blazing. "Well then," he finally responded, "if you need a fair fight, why don't you come and get one?" He shook the stiffness from his limbs and stood up, straight and proud, leaving his Ghythrym and his battle standard where they lay on the rocks. "Come on then, pup!" he beckoned. "You are right. I am old and tired, but I have time enough for one more fight with you, and for your cousins, if they wish to join. I may not be as young as you, as quick or as vicious a killer as you are, but I've survived terrible battles and ambushes, lean winters and droughts. I have watched my own fallen comrades, my Tava'ri, burn on a funeral pyre. I have laid to rest my joined mate, my parents, my little mates, and my own little cubs, and yet I think I just have no strength to spare for our duel. And if need be, to honor your death and to build your funeral pyre as well." He took a step forward over the rocks toward the shallows. "And know this, Vosh. After I win our duel, I will place you on the pyre. I will sit vigil while the sacred smoke carries your spirit to join Mother Luna." Now for the first time, Vosh looked uncertain. The old one's voice was no longer cracked and wavering, but deep and steady. The glare in his eyes now outshone the sun, reflecting from the cliffs and water of the inland sea. Transcriber's note: history does not record the details of the duel. The only evidence of the outcome that remains is the handful of lines from a hoard of papyrus scrolls, miraculously recovered at Erete Ale in 1882. The three beset him, strong and fierce with the fire of youth, desires of glory and power. He met the three with tooth and claw, and he laid open their dishonor, spilling their lives out upon the rock. Mortally wounded, the challenger set his battle standard upright in the arc, looked out on the inland sea, and then lay down in a gray circle of ash and tears. As he closed his eyes for the final time, he sang a song in his heart, a ritual of reunion and forgiveness for those long separated. The challenger finally found peace, and Mother Luna transformed him into a star and placed them among his pack. They are the Constellation Othradsim, the Rejoined, blessed and illuminated, together forever, in Mother Luna's loving light.
Wonderful story, isn't it? Glad that we came to a conclusion with Ghythrym and how it all ended in the end. The story of the challenger is a unique one. It's a story that delves into the history, that blends well with everything that we known about the Neolithic and Bronze Era, almost to a fact of historical fiction or even historical fantasy. It is a story that was recorded by someone and who knew of the outcome of the entire duel, which means that there might have been an additional person there who witnessed the entire thing taking place. But we don't know who that person is, and as far as I know, the transcriber never mentioned about a fourth person. But the overall, it is a wonderful story about a person who went through the stages of grief to come to the point where he is now, and that he manages that no matter the amount of grief someone has experienced for the rest of their life, that in the end, that when it comes down to it, they know how to overcome it and be able to accomplish the things that they need to do in the sake of not only the honor of the rest of the pack. What we need to know is that Ghythrym has did this with the honor of his, not only of his pack, but of his own self. Because if you notice, as we were reading this, didn't have a strong confidence in himself. He just has enough to facade a confidence. And which is the reason why I believe that Bosch may have taken the bold step that he did. Once he managed to overcome all that obstacle that was in himself, yes, I know, he was able to accomplish what he needed to do. It tells a lot about us as story hunters, of how we can, that no matter our struggles or problems that we go through on a daily basis, that we will manage to overcome. And we will find a way to overcome them when time comes. It is also important to know that there are people out there who will see that you might be faulty, or that you might see the facade. They don't know what's inside you, what you're going through. They may not know that. And it will be a terrible mistake if they try to take advantage of that exposed weakness. Because then you could go up and you could beat them, you could slash at them, and they'll be caught off guard. So I assume that you all want more. That story. This is only one story out of the little Werewoman story. They got an entire library, an entire archive of other stories for us to feast upon. They want to remind you that they are there, delivering more historical accounts and adventures for us to enjoy. They do want to let us know that they will be launching a podcast of stories like this and others that will happen in the future. And so they might offer an invitation to you. And if they offer an invitation to be on, go ahead and be on. You might have some interesting stories for them as much as me. And share stories with me if you have any. This is their podcast closing. They say that they're telling us to make sure to tell the story that need telling. Speak for those who must be heard. Be honest, and remember that while facts and figures tend to fade into oblivion, a good story lives forever in the minds and hearts of those who hear it. And that concludes this session. So, if you enjoy this piece that we have here tonight, you should consider on joining our pack, so we can feast on stories quite like this and more. And if you have stories of your own, share them with us, that we could feast on them all together. And if you want to invite other people to the pack, bring them here, and we'll feast with them together. We are currently still searching for more story hunters who want to help with our cause in spreading stories worldwide. To make sure that they know that they're not alone, that they have a place here among us. And as a partner, join our pack. We are glad to have you amongst us. And be ready to hunt when you hear our howl.